I am Leonard Temba. I've been with Thomson for 18 years. I had a great time working with Thomson for all those years, and I'm looking forward to work with them even more. It's the best company to work with.
My name is Hashim. I've been working with the Thomson Safaris for like 10 years now, and I've been experiencing a lot. So you'll be seeing me throughout this video talking about different rules that the guide should follow to make the operation of the safari more smoothly.
My name is Fred. I've been working with the company now 6 years. I've been, since I enrolled with the company, I've been enjoying very much because this is one of the, I would say the best company.
Thomson mission, or our mission, is to provide a quality safari and integrate and also deliver them in the level of service of our guests.
I would like to share with you one of the mission of the company, which is to grow financially growth, which later on will benefit everybody. It means the company wants to operate in a very, very profitable way. At the end of the day, the employee will benefit, the owner will benefit, and our guests will receive the good service.
I would like to share with you one of the mission of Thomson Safari. Companies are very responsible to their social development and environmental, and just to make sure that the area, people are aware of and to be aware of the culture and that environment.
First of all, you should remember that as a guide, it doesn't matter if you work with the other operator, Fortis or Classic or whatever, but so far you come here to work with the Thomson Safari. Always remember when you talk to Wageni, tell them that you are working with the Thomson Safaris. Mentioning that is simply all the guests will understand we're all one team and we're all working as a Thomson Safaris guide. So when you're here, keep in mind you are working with the Thomson Safari. As a guide, dress code, how you appear to the Wageni when you're going to pick up the guests at the airport or when you go on safari, make sure that you dress properly. Or probably you know or you don't know, but how to dress like a guide, make sure you put up plain clothes, The shirt should be plain, like my friend Freddie. Freddie, if you can come close to me. Yeah. Freddie is the one who dressed proper than me. See? Plain shirt, plain trouser, and the shoes. Okay? In working with the Americans, you don't always need to dress formal like uniforms. Some other company do have uniform, but there are no uniform with the Thomson Safaris. See the way I dress. You may dress like this, but we don't recommend it very much. You should dress like how you see Fred dressing. When you came here to do transfer or safari, make sure you read properly all the documents that will be handed to you by the trip manager. There will be an itinerary which will show you where to pick up and where to drop off. There will be a trip roster with all the names of the travelers, their age, if they're male or female, if there are kids on the trip. So when you go to the airport, you know what kind of wagon you're expecting to pick them up. So make sure all the files are important to read. When you came to the office, make sure you get to know your trip manager by name and go and meet with him and tell that introduce yourself and say I'm going in this trip, and leave your phone number, and you know, if you've got any question that you don't know about, you can ask the trip manager. The second person is very important. If you go as a support guide, make sure you talk to your and get to know your head guide. Get to know the head guide is the one who have all the information also about the trip, how the transfer will be done, and all these kind of things. The other person, which is very important to know, is the safari operation manager. If you're on safari, you get a problem, you don't get in touch with the head guide, or you anyway, whatever, but you need to have the phone number and get to know the safari operation manager. There will be workshop manager, there will be general manager. All of these people are very important to know if you stuck somewhere, or by any chance you need you have emergencies, you want to talk to them. It will be very helpful for you.
Before you leave on safari, make sure you check out with your safari or trip manager. Make sure that before you leave the office, he'll give you the or she'll give you the checklist, and you'll take that checklist direct to the workshop. Make sure you have a workshop supervisor or the workshop manager to go through all the checklists and make sure that everything is in the vehicle. The checklist is very important because the checklist can help you to remember and not to forget anything that you'll be needed in the field. Also, make sure that you go for test drive with the supervisor or the mechanical that was been signed to your vehicle to fix it. And if the car runs smooth, you have everything you need, then you're good to go. Once you're done with your safari, when you come back from a safari, make sure you go again back to your checklist and make sure everything that you got from the store manager and at the workshop, you return it, like a bean bag, medical kit, and some other thing. First of all, it's very important because when the guests arrive, usually they get a very good impression. We say the first impression is what the person will take. Even the last impression is also what they will take home with them.
And remember, these people are very, very important for us. They are like lifeblood of the company, lifeblood of our industry. So you really need to be very, very careful, and you have to act professional. When you get to the airport, make sure that you get there early. Make sure you get there half an hour or 1 hour before the arrival time. Then you have time to get ready and wait for the guest.
If you're a transfer guide or transfer driver, it's up to you to do the best. Interact with your guests after you pick them up. Explain to them when you pick them up. Make sure their bags are there. Make sure you introduce yourself. Tell them where you're going, what time they're gonna have lunch, how long is gonna be a shopping, and then how's the day room like, the snacks, and everything. What time are you going to pick them in the evening? Information is very important.
Before you leave, make sure you bring the sign which shows Thomson Safari. So at the time when they are coming, they'll see the sign, and then when the guest gets to you, you shake your hand and introduce your name, and then after that you can assist them. But before you just grab whatever thing they have, please ask them, can I give a hand? Can I help you? And then you take them to the car. Once you get the car, I know at the airport now you need to pay the parking fees. So you can leave them in the car and go and pay the park fees. But before you leave, please tell them that you are going to pay the park fees. Don't just leave quietly. Tell them you are going to pay the park fees, and then you'll be back. After paying the park fees, come back to the car. And it's not bad if you introduce yourself again, like say your name again. And then from there you can tell them like how long it's going to take from the airport to the lodge they are going to stay.
Make sure when you get to the day room, you are the one who checked them in. Make sure even before you go to the airport to pick this wageni or the guest, make sure you seek for information from the guide, from the main guide. All the details that you have in hand, When you leave the office, you have all the detail in hand. So when you get there to see the wageni, when you pick them up, you have all the detail. Explain to them. Make sure they are comfortable as they are in 8 days. Because you are a very important person. It's the last day for these people. They've been enjoying for 8 days. So the last day for them, you are with them. So it means also you are playing a big part of safari.
Also, there are a few things you need to let them know, do's and don'ts, which is most of the briefing the head guide is going to do, but you just let them know that the valuable things like money, passport, you know, they have to keep it with them all the time, and you have to be clear to them that it have never happened things to be stolen, but we always try to be on the safe side. We don't wait until when things happen, and then from there you drive from there to the lodge. On the way, make sure you interact with them, you know, you talk to them, but you don't have to talk too much so that, you know, you make them bored, because these people they've been having a long flight. They have been flying more than 16 hours, so they'll be tired. So just interact with them. Don't be quiet, don't be silent, and also don't talk too much. Once you get to the it may happen because some other people, due to the time to connect their flight, they miss their luggage. So if it happens they don't get their luggage on that day, you just tell them, you know, it will be okay because the next day they may get it. It always happens. It happens very often that people missing their luggages, but they'll get them. What you need to do is to ask them if they get the paperwork for their luggages. And otherwise, if they don't have paperwork, there's no way their luggages will be delivered to them. And if they have the paperwork, then you can make a call right away to the trip manager to let him or her know that certain people are missing their luggages, so that, you know, it will be very easy to follow up. Also, you need to check with them at the first day. Though you'll be having all this information in your roster and get special checklist, but it's better to check with the guest if they have special needs, like people who are allergic, or, you know, people have like back, you know, problem. So you know where you'll be assign them to sit in the car. So it's very, very important to ask them at the time when you get to when you pick them from the airport. And make sure you tell them about the water. Since we have water in the car, when they get to the hotel, tell them to get the water. Each of them give them a bottle of water, and tell them, you know, the water, they don't have to pay for the water, so they need to get enough water when they get in the lodge. And they have to drink enough water to avoid dehydration. Also, there are a few things also you need to remember. You know, we don't really say guest. I mean, a client. We use guest. So Thomson no client. So make sure you use guest.
So it's good that when they come in with a very good first impression, then they can live with a very good last day impression.
Very important is remember that when you're on the way, when you drive, especially in day one, these people are not used to our road very much. So slow driving carefully until these people becoming calm and comfortable, that they're in a safe hand. So always day one is very, very important to ensure that the guests also are comfortable and not worried about what is going to happen, you know, how the road is going to be. So we as guide, we have to make sure that day one becoming very, very important.
First of all, before I go over anything, I think we have to remind ourselves that code of conduct is very important to go through it, and that have more detail So just go through it. You'll find a lot of details inside there, and it will really help you. But what I can say about the game drive, first of all, set a piece driving. Make sure you show yourself, show what you have, show your skill, show your talent. That is what we're there for. When you find a place is crowded, 50 vehicle or 20 vehicle, make sure either you leave the place and come back later. Or if you already seen the animal, 5 minutes is enough if you have 10 people behind you waiting to see the same animal. But don't rambly park the vehicle because you just need to have your guest to have a picture. They can have that picture, but at the same time you look stupid to them because you are fighting over something that you can wait. See, don't rush when you hear there's something ahead of you. Even make sure you limit your time so you don't have to rush anywhere you go. Then safety is very important. Drive slow as the park require. If one of your guests try to either make you to break the rule, like go off road or speed up, just check your permit. Turn the permit around. On the back, there are park rules over there. If not, just show your guest and say these are park rules, which I can't break. If I break one rule here, then I'm in a big trouble. I may be suspended for 6 months or a year. Also, like the Thomson Safari, also we have our rule that we set. Please, there is a checklist that you can go through, and this is very important also to tell your wageni or your guest that these are park rule and these are our rule, which we say community rule, that they don't break it. When you drive more than 50 kilometers, make sure your guests are sitting down, and especially if you're in the Serengeti highway, some people drive like crazy. Make sure everybody has a seatbelt on.
I would like to talk about do's and don'ts while we are on safari, or especially for the guides. What are the important things that we can always remember, and probably the mistakes that we always do without knowing that is not the right thing to do. One of the things is, first of all, you should remember that Thomson Safaris is dealing with the Americans mostly, and most of the Americans, they tend to be informal. So we as guides also will go with the flow. We try to be informal too. If there is something which can be changed, if there is something which can be done, we can always be able to be flexible, but based on the limits. But be too much formal, you make the guests uncomfortable. And they're here on vacation and they come here to enjoy. So if there are anything that can be done, it can be changed. If we stick to whatever it is in the itinerary, too much formal can make them nervous a little bit and worried a little bit. So being formal can make our safari much more easier.
When you stop for animal, if you're in the highway, remember there is a dust car throwing rocks, so it's danger. We say always safety is very important. So make sure you have 5 minutes there, explain to the wageni that this is the highway, so we may have to eat a lot of dust, or they may break the windshield because the tire will be throwing the rocks. Okay? And when it's raining, you want to shut the roof down, don't let your guests do that. Just step outside find a safe place, step outside and go over and put your roof down. Because they don't know about the roof, pop-up roof, so they may bang their head and that can ruin your safari.
Well, for some people talk more, some people talk, a little bit less, but don't be non-stop chatterer, You can talk, but sometimes give the guests the time to talk to themselves, to talk to their families, or the other travel partners that they are in the car. If you have something important or you need to interact, you can always do that. But don't make like a talking machine that the guests can feel like they have to listen to you all the way through for hours and hours. You just keep talking and talking. So minimize what you have to talk about. And also be a good listener. Sometimes the kids and the elders, the senior travelers, sometimes becoming difficult. If you're not listening carefully, you may not be able to understand what they're talking about. So be keen and listen carefully to their questions so as you can be able to respond properly. And if you don't get it right, you better ask that, excuse me, can you say this again? They can always repeat what they want to say.
When you go before the game drive and after the game drive, make sure you have all the detail from your main guide, or if you're a main guide, make sure you apply the detail after the game drive. Tell your people what is next, dinner, shower, and then explain about the next morning and redo this again during dinner. When you show up in the morning, make sure when you set up a time, if it's 8:30, be there maybe 8:15. It's really bad if your guest is sitting there waiting for you to show up with your vehicle. If you have a problem, go over, report your problem if the car won't start it, or if you have a breakdown and you can't make it. Make sure you find any means to contact your client or guest to let them know, so they don't stand somewhere waiting for you for over an hour.
Another important thing is do not solicit for fund, or do not solicit for some kind of help for your project, for the school fees for your kids. We all get different problems to solve in our families, but we always have to remember the guests, they come here to enjoy their trip, and you should not try to put something else which can make them start feeling sad, or that you are in a big problem, they have to help you. Not all of them, they cannot be able to support you, and it is unprofessional to asking for help. Things like email address, you should not ask for it unless otherwise the guest say, okay, this is my email address, maybe you can get in touch, and maybe I'll send you some pictures or something like that. That is acceptable, no problem with that. But solicit for fund is not required.
Make sure also the charging system is in the vehicle. When you're driving, sometimes you can have a short or anything can happen, but the safe way to do the charging usually is when you get back to the camp or when you have a long ride in a very good road. Explain this to them. Nobody can have two things at a time. If other people they want to charge, each one of them can have one at a time, and this can avoid the conflict.
Also, this is very, very important. You are not on safari so as to get a new girlfriend. You may find yourself interested. You're all human beings, but always remember, you're in safari as a guide. You are there to work. So if somebody or you are interested in somebody, you should lower your interest and always remind yourself that involving yourself in a relationship with the guest, it is unprofessional and it brings bad image to to the other travel members of the safari. Some other people, maybe a group of 10 people, they may thought maybe you're doing some favor to a specific person, and also it's not good in general. So whatever you're going to do, always remember that starting up a relationship on safari with a guest is not the right thing.
Make sure nobody controlled the trip, during the game viewing. Maybe somebody want to see rhino and this person want to see a leopard. Then you give one person more chances than the other. Like you benefit one person than the other. That can ruin your trip. Make sure you treat everybody equal. Don't rush to the animal. Don't promise something that you don't know if you're gonna see or not. When you talk to the phone or when you talk to the radio, let your guest know what about it. You don't talk with your phone, you don't talk to your cell phone during the driving. And even when you pull over and talk to your phone, you just don't pick up the phone, talk to your phone, and then after that start the car and move on. You will leave everybody in the middle of nowhere. Explain to them, what are you talking about? If you're on the radio, explain to them whom you're talking about, who you're talking to. And don't pick the phone when you're driving. That is very dangerous. All over the world, nobody do that. You may be the first one to do that, but accident. When you talk to the phone, you are in the field, you are in the Serengeti, you are somewhere, explain to them. This is very important to explain to them who you're talking to, because sometimes you may talk to somebody and then in 5 minutes later you get hijacked. Then the guest may think that you're talking to the bandit or thief or robber. So always put yourself on the safety side and put the guest also on the safety side. Remember, the smooth safari can make you live in a good life.
Another thing is be flexible, especially with a small group. You cannot be much flexible when you travel in a big group. But if you have 2 people, if they said you're tired, you cannot do this, go with it. As I mentioned before, try to be informal. And also see the nature of the group. If some people seem to be tired, provide us with the other alternative, either go back early or things like that. Do not stick to the itinerary allow some flexibility which will make the people enjoying and get some time to rest and downtime too. At the same time, remember to observe the itinerary limits. Sometimes you need to be to the place for lunch. You need to a certain place at this time. Or you cannot change the entire itinerary, otherwise it will bring a lot of chaos to the office. So always, whenever you allow the flexibility, also know that there will be some limit to that. You cannot introduce something new out of the itinerary, which will bring some problem. Having meals with Wageni, usually when you have 2 guests, especially couples, or whatever, if the group getting smaller, most of the time we are not having meals with Wageni. So note this, especially if they're couples, you cannot have meals with them. Allow them to have dinner for themselves. Give you itineraries and give you a briefing for what you're going to do the next day in the evening, and let them have the dinner on their own. If you travel in the group, usually head guide is the one who having dinner with Wageni. And if there is a room or no whatever availability is, they set up the table for all the guys to be there, then it's okay, you can joining up the group for all the meals. Taking alcohol. probably everybody may know this, that you should not drink while you're working.
Most of the complaint can be avoided, and make sure you work out on that and avoid all the complaint. In case it happens, there is a complaint, make sure you deal with that, solve it, and if you cannot fix it, then let the head guide know about that complaint. Fix it and also let the head guide know about that complaint. And head guide will be working out on that. He can fix it or report it to a Arusha office. So he will follow all the procedures.
Tipping, to let you know that it is the guests already get the tipping recommendation and the guidelines before they come to do their safari here in Tanzania. So for the guides, that they should not be worried about the tipping. Also asking the guest to give you extra tip, or asking the guest that, oh, maybe I have this and this, maybe expecting for the bigger tips on this trip. It is not allowed. So you should just be comfortable, do your job, and know that your tip, the guests know about the tipping guideline. So be comfortable, do your safari right, make sure the guests are happy. Always they can give you a good tip. In America, tipping, they always know that tipping is very, very important. So you should not be insisting or keep talking about tipping. It is also unprofessional too. The other thing is try to use the simple language when you talk. Avoid uses of the vocabulary and difficult languages that everybody starts go like, what does he mean? Just use a simple language that all the guests can understand you. Very, very last, remember always you are representative of Thomson Safaris. So whatever you say, whatever you do, it will always, on the guest feedback, it will always go back to the Thomson office in Arusha and Boston office. They will all know what you tell the guest. So be a good ambassador in representing the country and the company very well, and always everything will be just going all right.
Many emergencies can be avoided. It's like you need to drive with a reasonable speed. There is some other accidents you need to avoid, so be careful when you are driving. Also, make sure when you are driving, before you leave, ask your guests to wear the seat belt. That's for the safety. And also, when you are around the camp, when you get to the camp, make sure that all the guests, they know that they cannot go beyond the camp area, otherwise they'll be ending up with their wildlife.
Few things can happen while we drive with the guests, especially the place like here in Arusha. We come to experiencing some political demonstrations, people found in big crowds go against something. If it's happening something like that, make sure you stop at a safe distance, assess the situation. If you found the crowd coming toward or getting closer to you, you have to do some wise decision. Turn around, change the route, go through the different way. Do not stop and say, okay, let's see what is going on here or whatever. The guests may not want to experience things like that because they'll be scared. Another thing is you may drive and find a roadblock. Some people put up a piece of logs or a big stone or something. Do not try to run away or whatever. Look around, the safety of the area. If just in case the people coming to you asking for something, you had rather tell your guests that we're in trouble, whatever these guys want, just hand over to them. Otherwise, be keen and do not drive here. You need to focus further ahead. to see what is going on the way, which can help us to keep ourselves and the guest in a safe way. But if you are cornered to the area that you cannot be able to avoid those kind of things, please use the other means of communication, a radio call, or call the office, or call the police for assistance, just in case you get into the crowd or people trying to hurt you and the guest. So use the communications means to get back into the safety side.
Also go through a few things about the reaction in case something happened, like whatever, anything can happen. So in case something happened, what you need to do is stay calm. Remember, you are a leader and all the guests will be looking at you. So make sure you tell them that you are going to deal with the problem, and they have also to stay calm. So don't rush to do things. So make sure you just follow all the procedures to go from one step to another. And also make sure you are aware. Don't be a hero, because you may do some other things thinking that you are going to save them or to save yourself, and then you will end up in big problem. So make sure you do things in such a way everything will be safe. Another thing also, you need to make sure that safety is most important thing for the guest and for you. So in case something happen, safety, make sure you follow all the procedures, the safety, to make sure that there's nothing, the situation is not going to get worse, but make sure you try to save, to make the situation better instead of making it worse. So follow all the procedures to make sure that the situation is getting better.
Action. When we talk about action, first we have to know what is the action. First, what you need to do is assess the emergency situation. Do you need a first aid kit? Do you need a flying doctor? Or do you need a hospital immediately? If you are in a convoy, do I need my colleague, means the other guide, to come and assist me? Yes or no? Then from there, then you can take that action. If you don't need all that, then it means you're fine. If you need one of them, especially flying doctor or hospital, then immediately after you contact your colleague, then you need to contact Arusha office to your senior management. Let them know about the situation. And then after that, look over where you are. Are you close to the airstrip? Are you close to the medical center? Then if you are close to one of those, then just go to the medical center to get help. If you're far away, find a safe place. After you find a safety place, then contact your Arusha office, and from there they will tell you where to go next. Don't just because you are a main guide, don't just take action as an action, because sometimes you may be wrong. And if you're with your colleague, make sure they involve 100% with the situation, and that is how the images can be handled. I want to say thank you. I think we went through the anticipation. We went through the reaction and action. And if we have more, then we'll come back to you. If you have a question, please don't insist. Come and see us. What is the best you can do to become a professional guide? Number one, in a tourism business, teamwork. Without a teamwork, you're gone, my friend. So teamwork is important. Number 2, when you're in convoy, don't try to be star than anybody else. Try to keep everything level, and we call it under the carpet. If you try to be star than anybody else, then it means you are ruining your trip. This is not about the guest. This is not about your colleague. This is about you. So make sure you handle the stage very well, because when you're performing and the audience are happy, then it means you're doing a great job.
These are a few tips I would like to give you, and one of the tips I would like to tell you is that remember, our guest is the lifeblood of our industry. They are also the lifeblood of our company. So make sure you do all the best to make sure that they live with a good experience. And secondly, make sure these people, they come with a big expectation. So you are there just to make sure that not only to meet the expectation, but make sure the expectation will exceed. So make sure you work out on that. And also make sure you are a good example. Since you are ambassador of the country and the company, make sure you do everything right. When you are around, everywhere where you'll be going, just make sure you do things right, so that even the guests, they'll get a good picture when they go back with a good experience.
One of it, be informative. Give information. If you are driving from one point to another, share with the guest. How much time is going to take, what you're going to see, what to expect. Do not just go without any information. If you stop somewhere, fixing up the car, or you've been stopped by the police for inspection or something, tell the guest that we'll be here maybe for 2-3 minutes, there are things going on. Do not just get out of the car, disappear for half an hour or 10 minutes without any information. Always be informative. Always the guest will be happy and willing to wait, and there will be no complaint. 2, be flexible. These people come here on vacation. If they say we feel like tired, do not push them to stay long on game drive, or because maybe you have some interesting place you want to take them. But if they're tired, they're tired. If you keep pushing them to do things which is they don't really like to do it, they'll switch off and they're not going to enjoy it. So be flexible. Somebody want to do early, you do early. Some people want to take it easy. A couple of hours is enough, you go with the flow. Do not push anything as these people are on vacation. The last, everybody gets problems, family problems and all these kind of things goes on. You may not be ready 100%, or maybe something goes on in your head. Always try to fight with it and get back to the work mood. You may have maybe difficulties at the beginning, but as you goes on, remember that you already agreed to do the safari. You have to do it right, because the guests don't know if you have other problems. They come here, they know they'll have a good trip, memorable trip. So if you have any difficulties, put it aside. You can always do the best.
Thank you for listening.
We hope you learned something from the video.
I hope you're going to enjoy this coming season, and everything will run smoothly throughout the learning that you receive from us.
Safari
Asante,
njema.
njema.